Hey guys, good morning. It's week 2, Monday, the 10th of January, 2022. I still can't get over that. I have not yet made it through all of your bios, but I will probably get to that today and tomorrow. I'm really enjoying what I'm reading. You guys are off to an excellent start, I feel like. So let's talk about this week. So you posted those bios, you wrote replies. Hopefully last night you finished those up. If not, I encourage you to get in there and take care of that quickly before I notice. And then let's start diving in immediately to creating some pitches. So you're going to develop at least three possible pitches for our magazine. I want you to imagine that you're doing this work, and on Thursday, imagine you're going to show up at the round table with our journalist team, and I'm the editor. I'm going to be sitting there with you, and you're going to be like, all right, this is what I've come up with. I'm thinking I could write something like this, or something like this, or something like this. And we're going to round table, again, imaginary, but that's the concept here. We're going to round table, ponder each other's ideas together, consider the strengths and weaknesses of those ideas per our magazine, our reputation, our audience, our history, because we're trying to, you'll learn more about this when you dive into the materials, but we're trying to present something to our readers that they can't find elsewhere. So that's what I call a fresh topic. But it also needs to be authentic. That means that the journalist behind the topic needs to have some authentic desire to research that issue, to invest in it, to do some investigative journalism. And then some other things I want you to know. This is a little repetitive for what you're going to find in the actual materials, but the important stuff should be repeated. So you're not presenting topics. So, for instance, in my bio, I mentioned that I did some work in my college time around the issue of mail order brides. Mail order brides is a topic. It's not a pitch. It's a place to start. So if that's where you're at today, like I have kind of 3 topics, you don't yet have pitches, what you want to do is some background research. And you'll see there are 3 videos on the pitches project page. So the first video tells you about exchangers. It's going to help you break down what I mean by fresh and authentic and who our audience is and whatnot. The second video is developing a pitch through research. So that's where if you have the topics, you need to now develop the pitch through research. And that just means you're going to do a bunch of internet surfing. I think it's actually rather fun because the challenge is to, you could even be competitive about it if you'd like. Go find the most interesting thing you can. And you'll do that through internet surfing, browsing, just following up on what fascinates you. If you see something with a headline that is clickbait you want to get into it. This is technically called background reading. One of the other reasons why it's so important, not just for developing your pitch, but it tells you if the thing that you're setting yourself up for is researchable. Because even though you'll be using other avenues, not just plain Google searching to do this project in the long run, seeing that people are already writing about this is going to give you an indication that I'm going to be able to come up with keywords. I'm probably going to be able to find articles about this. Sometimes we have an idea in our heads and then we're like, why has no one written about this? That's an actual thing. And that means that thing is not researchable. So you want to make sure that what you're pitching is researchable. Strongly encourage you, for the sake of longevity, perseverance, holding your interest for the whole quarter, that you do not research something that you already know a lot about just because it's comfortable to you. You will burn out so quickly. This is honestly a great opportunity for you to choose a realm that interests you, but learn something new and off the wall and fascinating. It doesn't even have to be serious. It can be playful. You guys decide. I know that I mentioned in the samples that there's an argument that we've published before that was about the use of emojis in professional communications. Obviously that's not serious, but it was really interesting. That's something to think about. Also, a lot of people will present something interesting, but not necessarily interesting and researchable, but not necessarily arguable. So be sure that you watch that final video number 3, Stasis Theory. What that's going to show you is really crucial to our magazine. We are Exchangers Magazine. Exchangers byline is from exigence to excellence. Exigence is a thing that is not as it ought to be. Excellence is the solution to that ought, right? So it's in simple terms, we present problems and solutions, and that's an arguable thing. Like, here's this issue, we need to do something about it. So we're not an awareness magazine. We don't just draw attention to problems and leave our readers to solve things. We're actually a solution generating machine. Maybe what we publish is wrong, but we at least make an attempt to try to solve the problem, and we give the readers the chance to chew on those potential solutions and agree with them or disagree with them. So you don't have to come to the conclusions of what your solution will be. Maybe your pitch is like, here's a problem and here's some interesting solutions that are being proposed. You don't yet know which solution that you think is valid, but you've done enough research to know that solutions are out there and that they align with the magazine, they're interesting, they're researchable, all that stuff. So one of the big pitfalls that I notice in this step of the magazine process with previous journalists is that some people just have issues that they want to be authentic, and the issue is something they're really passionate about. So gun rights is one of them that I see often, and you're going to have to get really creative to get that by the editor, because I'm approving pitches. And I use that's not like the one issue. It's just a really easy issue to bring up as an example. But the reason why is we're so used to that argument. Like, I know that we have not as a society landed on what is true about that argument and all of that stuff. So it's still worth discussing. It's just that Exchangers presents things that readers don't find elsewhere. And so if we publish an article about gun rights in a general sense, we're betraying our reputation, our readers, and what they expect to get from us. So if you're going to go that route, you're going to have to get really creative with the angle with which you approach it. Let me give you an example, not gun rights. Social media addiction. I understand, again, super important discussion to be had, but it's being had in lots of other places, and people are pretty familiar with it. Even if you still run into people who are like, I never knew that. The majority of, there are a lot of popular sources out, especially now that we get into, like the documentary that was just released, the network, it was literally just in my head, and I'm not going to pause to figure it out, but there's that new documentary that is about like advertising and technology addiction and all that stuff. So what could make it fresh? Sometimes the solutions are what make it fresh. Have you ever read, I just heard an author say, I was listening to an audiobook, say that we should take our phones and set them to grayscale because psychologically it decreases the dopamine experience that we have with our screens. Really crazy. I've never heard that before. A black and white technological life, isn't that that'd be an interesting argument, right? To try to convince readers to turn their computer screens to black and white, to watch black and white movies. I don't know. It's just, that could be something, right? So you can take a popular, reiterated argument or article and you can get it by the editor, me. But I just want to give you guys some advice how to do that if that's what you're thinking of doing. All right, Thursday, these are due, the 3 pitches. If you post early, great, you get early feedback. Sunday, reply to each other, rate, meaning I like this one the best, I like this one the least, and here's why. Don't do like 1 out of 10 or scores or 5 stars or anything like that. Just say, this one's my favorite one, second favorite, third favorite. And make sure that your reasons for why something's a good pitch when you make them, or your reasons for why you rated somebody else's pitches a certain way, are based on the criteria given here. Like, who is Exchangers? How does that pitch fit with our developing sense of self as a magazine identity? Is this thing researchable? Does it seem to have some some possible backing. Also, the hyperlinks that are a part of the required elements of this project are going to help with that. And then, is it arguable? Does it have that problem solution, exigence to excellence framework? All right, you guys, seriously, if you're not having fun with this, you're doing it wrong. So make sure that you're in a playful state of mind, a curious state of mind, and don't make this for me. I know I set up some guidelines, but they should be loose enough that you, honestly, if you practice a little bit of agency, you can take control of this and you can shape exchangers as well. I've obviously founded the magazine, I have sustained the magazine, but at the end of the day, all of the new journalists that come in every quarter, they leave their mark on our magazine's reputation. And I actually do mean that. When students come through and they become journalists for our magazine and they present different projects, they challenge my ideas of how I thought this magazine would turn out. And so I encourage you to make your mark, practice a little bit of agency, get excited, have fun. This is the fun part. Give yourself enough time to enjoy it.